Yeah, I don't know who's saying that. The fact of the matter is that the Illinois Unemployment Compensation Program is one of the most costly in the country. Companies that have to work in multiple states will tell you time and time again, Illinois is 5 times more expensive, 10 times more expensive, 3 times more expensive. They all know we've got a problem in this state. If we want to grow jobs, we've got to reduce the cost of doing business in Illinois. And one of those major costs of doing business in Illinois is a workers' compensation system that's gotten out of control and is high-priced. And I think that those of us who genuinely want to see positive reform and change want to have a workers' comp bill passed this spring so we can move forward.
Can you help nail down specifically what's wrong with the governor's plan? I know there isn't legislation, but I mean, they had a fairly detailed PowerPoint. You know what he wants. What's wrong with it?
Well, I think that there are many things in the proposal, particularly the reforms aimed at the commission, are positive. He has yet to deal with the issue of causation, and that's the fundamental question. In Illinois, the threshold for a workers' comp claim is extremely low. Somehow we've got to raise that threshold. Most specifically, pre-existing conditions is something that's got to be taken into account. Right now, an employee who starts work tomorrow can file a workers' comp claim for all previous experience. That's probably not job-related. We need to have workers' comp be a job-related injury, not a lifetime of work and injury. And so we've got to find some kind of middle ground, some way to deal with that fundamental issue. It's part of what drives high workers' comp costs in our state.
Some sort of burden on the employee to show that it was job-related.
We want to make sure that a workers' comp claim should be related to injury on the job. And other health issues that we have should be health-related issues. Most all employers have a health program, and if you've got an injury that needs to be treated, if you've got a pain or a twist, whatever, your regular health insurance can be used to take care of that. In Illinois, there's a little bit of an incentive, I shouldn't say a little bit, in Illinois there's too much of an incentive to pursue a workers' comp approach as opposed to simply medical relief and satisfaction.
If causation is taken care of, is that going to be enough? I mean, is that such a big deal that you'd be able to take breaks on other elements of a package if you get causation?
And I'm not sure what getting is. We need to be in ongoing conversations to try to come up with something, with legislation that will include some kind of an adjustment in the causation standard. Florida adjusted their causation standard and had about a 70% reduction in workers' comp claims. Missouri reduced raised their causation standard, and they also saw significant reductions in workers' comp cost. So therefore it is a factor. But there are many this is a multifaceted issue. There are many components of what might be appropriate to include for reforms in workers' compensation
laws. The governor
laws.
spent the first part of his comments talking about what he sees as signs of an Illinois recovery.
Right.
Are those similar signs? Do you see the same? Are you looking at something that makes you believe that the state is turning the corner, or are there still red flags?
You know, I really like the governor's positive comments this morning, and I want to be positive also. I'm tired of the last decade, which I thought was pretty disastrous for our state. Job growth, prosperity, opportunity is all in our interest. I thought that the governor's comments about international trade and marketing outside the United States was very positive. I think that's very fundamental to our future growth. About 20% of the Illinois economy today is based on international trade. The President, the Governor, and the President of the Illinois Chamber of Commerce are all talking the same message here, and that is we've got to get more businesses to get involved in international trade and growing our businesses outside the U.S. market. That's very fundamental. I like that. I like the fact that the Governor is willing to remind people that unemployment numbers are going down. I like the fact that we are still trying to grow jobs and create an environment that will cause employers to invest in our state. He's absolutely right. We have a great state. We've got a great future. We have a diverse economy in Illinois. We want to make sure that employers and business people in this state see Illinois as a place that offers them future opportunity.
Andy gave you props.
I'm sorry?
Andy gave you props.
I happen to know an applause line better than a lot of people, and I thought there were at least 3 or 4 applause lines in that speech that needed to be recognized.
Oh, yeah, does it say anything about trust between the business community and the governor, that you really had to lead that and everybody else was kind of quiet?
Sometimes someone, and I fault myself on this too, you get so wrapped up in your speech you forget to give the audience a chance to actually react to what you have to say. And I think there was some of that going on today. I thought the governor gave very good remarks this morning, and I'm hopeful in the coming weeks that we will in fact come together on a workers' comp reform.
You know, when we talk about workers' comp, you said you hope you come together soon because there hasn't been legislation, but it's not like this is something new. I mean, going back for many months, there have been a working group, and it was my impression at least that somebody from the governor's office was in there. So why now? What's different from what's been going on? Explain it to me. I don't get it.
In our state, we only get around to working on workers' compensation legislation about every 5 or 6 years. The legislation, the 2010 election helped send a strong message about our need to create jobs in our state, to change the economy in our state, to grow jobs. And I think the governor and many of the Democratic members of the General Assembly got that message during the fall. So I think that the theme has come around. Some of these things are cyclical, and now is the time.
How has that working group been, though? Have you made
Well, here,
progress?
let me put
From
the-
what I hear, it seems like everybody's kind of sticking to their corner, and there hasn't been any sort of actual agreement.
The Illinois Chamber started talking about workers' compensation legislation 2.5 years ago. We wanted to set the stage for workers' comp change in 2011. The fact that after the election, the two legislative leaders created a task force to begin to deal with it, meant that a subject that most people never wanted to talk about or didn't know anything about came out of the closet or from underneath the rug or wherever you want to reference, and now is center stage. It is the most important public policy issue in this state besides coming together on a budget. And I think that's a good sign that we're moving forward.
Has the governor's office had people in those meetings?
There
that you've
has
been part
not,
of?
at this point in time, in my opinion, there's not yet been enough collaborative conversation about what a final bill might look like. We put legislation in, we amended the legislation this week. The governor's office has talked about some components. We know there are a lot of people, and he referenced it today, there are a lot of people who want no change. That is not an acceptable position. We must have change this year.
And how did you amend it this week?
There was an amendment that was filed yesterday for Senate Bill 1349. You can look at the details.